What is so special about the Steam Deck OLED? I have owned the Steam Deck now for about 3 months. In that time, I have changed my gaming habits in such a way that I am playing the Steam Deck more and more. So much so that about a little over a month ago, I got rid of my PC that I would game on, that I had Steam installed on. And the Steam Deck has given me like a breath of fresh air when it comes to gaming. And so in this video, we're going to talk about what it is about the Steam Deck that's so special that everyone seems to love and how it has influenced the way that I game now. So let's get into the video. So back in the 90s, I owned Sega's version of the Steam Deck, and that was the Game Gear. And I absolutely loved the Game Gear. Not only could you play Game Gear games on it, but I had this converter. The only console that I had at the time was the Sega Master System. And I remember getting the Game Gear, and I had probably like 8 to 12 games for it. But then I was able to find this adapter that made it so I could play all of my Master System games, all the cartridge-based ones, not the card ones, but all the cartridge-based ones. And it just completely, like having the option of playing not only the Game Gear games, but a whole nother consoles games, all on the go. I had the battery pack and the TV tuner. I had all of those accessories. And the Game Gear was such a unique device that it had options to play all of these different games, watch TV. You know, I think you could even get a cable that you could hook things up to it and use the screen on the Game Gear as like a TV to play other consoles. It was just a product that was just so imaginative and so far ahead. And then there was other products like the Game Boy that really kind of overshadowed it because they were more affordable. I think that part of my enjoyment of the Steam Deck is that it's so similar to that Game Gear experience. They're a similar form factor, and even though the Steam Deck, the screen is far, far bigger, it's a very similar profile. And I think that that's just something that really pulled me in the direction of the Steam Deck when I first saw it. It was like, oh, that kind of looks like a Game Gear from back in the day. Like, that's really cool. It has like the touch pads on it, and it has a lot of different button configurations and ways that you can hook up accessories and things like that. So it's like, yeah, that is really like the Game Gear of back in the day. And I think that was one thing that I really found it to be special, just because it had that sort of that look and that nostalgia. And so that was one of the things that I really first noticed about it. And then after getting the Steam Deck and using it and playing it and seeing all the different options that you could hook up accessories, you could dock it to your TV, you could hook up a controller, a keyboard and mouse. It's got desktop mode. It offers all these different features that just make it stand out. Yeah, that was one of the things that just really, really pulled me in the direction of wanting one, especially with the portability. It's something that I can take and play virtually anywhere. Recently, I went on a camping trip up into the mountains, and I know that you're supposed to, when you go camping, that's an opportunity to disconnect. You probably wouldn't want to take your electronics, but in this case, I took the Steam Deck with me, and it just so happened that we had service up where we were at, and I was able to connect the Steam Deck to the mobile hotspot on my phone. And after everyone went to sleep, I was able to get on and connect my Steam Deck through the hotspot and do some multiplayer gaming out in the middle of nowhere. And that was pretty cool. It made me enjoy it even more. Just that fact that I've got access to my entire library, like a full PC experience out in the middle of nowhere. And it was just something cool. I only played on it for about a half hour or so because it was pulling a lot of data. I have Ryan Reynolds' Mint Mobile, which I highly recommend. And it worked really well. It was really awesome. And that was another thing, like I had taken it with me, and I hadn't even charged it for a few days, and I still had like 70% battery when I got out there. The battery life on the Steam Deck, the more I use it, and maybe it's because of some of their updates or something, it seems like the battery is lasting longer than when I first got it. It has only died on me one time. And that's because there was about a week or so where I didn't play it at all. It did eventually die, but that's because I keep it in sleep mode, right? So as soon as I plugged it in, it charges really fast. And that's another thing I don't think I've mentioned before is that you can fully charge the Steam Deck in, it seems like under an hour. It's really quick to charge all the way to full, and then I get hours of playtime off of that charge. So that's something that's really cool that I think is really good. Like I can't speak to what other handhelds have as far as battery life, but beings like the Steam Deck has kind of all been, it's a Valve product that has its own unique operating system. So it's like hardware and software all sort of under one roof. I would think that it would be the most optimized compared to other devices where you're pulling Windows 11 into the equation. I think that's something that's really special and unique to the Steam Deck is that it does have that long battery life, especially if you're playing games that aren't graphically demanding, right? And then another thing about the Steam Deck is it's affordable. You might not need the OLED, right? You could get an LCD Steam Deck for $399, I think it is. And I think that's pretty affordable. That's less than what you'd spend on an Xbox, right? Or a PlayStation 5. And then you're getting access to like a full PC, a full handheld PC of value for $399. And then you go up to $550 or $650 for the OLED models. And I think that they're well worth it. I was almost just going to get an LCD when I was first looking, and then I thought it would be a little bit better to get the OLED version, even if the games that I play don't fully take advantage of it. I still think that the screen looks really good, just with how the blacks look on the screen and the way that the colors and everything, it just seems to pop. It looks really good. So for that extra couple $100 to get the OLED edition, I think it's definitely worth it. My buddy has the LCD model, and that was the first time I ever played the Steam Deck, and I thought that one looked pretty good. So the OLED screen is absolutely amazing. I think that that's something that definitely makes the Steam Deck stand out. It's definitely something that's very special about it. Not a lot of the other handhelds seem to have OLED screens. The other handhelds might have technology that makes their screens look really good, but I still think that the OLED on the Steam Deck, definitely something that makes it special and stand out, and I think it looks absolutely brilliant. Another thing about the Steam Deck that really stands out to me is the storefront and how affordable games are on the Steam Deck. There's constantly sales going on. I am adding titles to my cart or to a wish list, and then when they go on sale, I'll go ahead and grab them. I've mentioned this site before, Humble Bundle. I just saw that they put up a couple of new bundles the other day that are really cool. So I constantly check that website because that's a great resource to getting a lot of games for a really good price. And I think that that's something that's really special too, because when you compare it to other consoles that might have Game Pass on Xbox is pretty cool, but you're not actually owning anything, right? You're just paying for the service. So you only have access to it as long as you're willing to pay. Having the option to buy games on Steam that you actually own, I think that that's a really nice benefit, and it offers a lot of value, and it's something it's not unique to the Steam Deck because you can, play Steam games on other handhelds, but it is their store, right? And it is their storefront. And I think a lot of us have invested into building up that library of games. And I think that's something that is very special to have access to all the games that Steam has to offer on its own dedicated platform that's optimized for it. And that was another thing I was thinking was, it has that rating that tells you if this is going to be a good game to play on the Steam Deck. And while that's not perfect, it does seem to reflect your experience and do a pretty accurate job of describing if, it might say that it's playable, But then when you actually go to read what it says, it's like, oh, well, the text is going to be really small. Or, the controls in some situations might, have that like you might need to use the mouse and, so you'll have to use the touchpads and the control sticks, but it does do a good job of letting you know, like, hey, this is playable. This is going to work great. This is optimized. And I think that that's a system that they're constantly trying to fine tune and evolve. So that's something that I really appreciate from Valve. So, it's definitely something special to add to the list too. And then another thing that I mentioned before was the options for playing, right? So I have been docking the Steam Deck more, and I have also been pairing my controller with it and using it as just a screen to sit and play. And I just love that about it. There's so many different configurations of how you can game, and even connecting a keyboard and mouse I've done a few times. Also using that in desktop mode to browse to YouTube or something. Just having all of these multiple options has been great. And I definitely would recommend getting an Xbox controller for the Steam Deck. That it's something that I've used so many times with it now. And especially if you're going to dock it, you're going to need a way to play. I will leave some links in the description below to some of the accessories that I recommend if you want to check them out. I love when you connect an Xbox controller that it changes your interface to show you what controller buttons you're going to be using and replaces all of the Steam buttons with the Xbox ones. So it's such a dialed in feature that any game that I have tried with it, the buttons are completely mapped without having to change anything. It's so smart and so intuitive, and it's just something really special that I'm glad that they made those controllers compatible. And not only that, but they made a seamless experience for when you pair it with the Steam Deck, so that it just works, and it works great. Another thing that's already built into the Steam Deck that's really unique and super special to it is the touch controls. I absolutely love the touch controls on here. And not only that, but like the screen is touch screen too. Sometimes instead of using the mouse, there are certain board games where I can just touch on the screen and touch on the cards and it plays them. And that's the way I prefer to play that game. And then there's other games where, yeah, I can use the touch pads and you pull the trigger and it's like you're holding a mouse, like an ergonomic mouse. The way that your thumb slides across the touchpad, it just works so well, and it's got the haptic feedback in it, so you know that it's moving, and it seems to speed up and slow down and get precise. Like, it works like magic. It is such a cool thing, and it's definitely, I don't think that there's other handhelds that have a touchpad interface like that. They're all designed to kind of mirror an Xbox controller that's been cut in half, right? And then glued onto each side, kind of like a switch. The Steam Deck having those touch controls, I think, is really special to that. And it's something that I really like about the Steam Deck. I really enjoy using those. And I think it's just, there's something about the Steam Deck came out a couple of years ago where we only had the Switch at the time. Valve releasing the Deck was kind of like the launch into like this whole handheld PC market. I don't think we had anything that was really similar to like a handheld PC that has all of the features that the Steam Deck does. Valve kind of being the first to be like, hey, we've got a handheld PC that plays all of our library of games and it's optimized for it. And, it just, there's something just really cool about that this was kind of the first company to do that. And now we've got Microsoft teaming up to come out with their handheld, and Asus and all these other brands that are coming out with ones. And yeah, they might be faster. They might have better resolution. Like the Steam Deck was kind of like the first one that launched into this handheld universe. So definitely something special about that first one, that original handheld that came out. That's really cool and still doing great. I've read a lot of comments where people are picking them up still. It's definitely a console that's still relevant. Yeah, owning the Steam Deck, it's been a really great experience so far. Another thing about the Steam Deck is the quality and the durability. I have dropped it on the carpet once and it's fine. I have bumped it against the wall and it still works great. When I originally got it, I thought that it would be more fragile than it's turned out to be. And I think that that speaks to the quality of it. The Steam Deck, it's well built. There's not really any gaps. It's like a solid construction. Everything fits together so well. All the components, all the triggers, all the buttons, everything is very high quality and very well built and very durable. This console will last for years as long as you're taking care of it. And I always case it. And that was one of the things about the 1 terabyte. It's got this dual case. You can have it in like the real hard shell and then keep the charge cable underneath of it. And then it's got the handle and it's really durable. Like I throw it in the back of my rig and just, don't have to worry about it because it's in a hard case. But you can also remove it from that hard shell case. And it's got just a small thin case that just covers and protects it, but it's got a lower profile. And that was something that was just really, really cool that they thought of. Hey, we're going to make a 2-in-1 case and just ship them with every 1 terabyte unit that we sell. So that was really cool. I think that was a real special feature. That was just something nice to do. Like just giving you 2 cases to make sure that your investment is protected. I think that was really cool of Valve, and I really like the case that it shipped with. And another thing that I really, really enjoy about the Steam Deck that's special was the new user experience, right? Taking it out of the box, it was extremely easy to set up and sign in your Steam ID, get things updated, get right to downloading and playing a game. Like the whole process was so simple and it was approachable. I could only imagine trying to set up like a Windows 11 handheld and having to download all the other stuff that goes with them. Like the Steam Deck, they just cut right to it. Hey, sign in, download your games, do some updates, you're good to go. I appreciate that was my user experience, right? And I think that that's very approachable to anyone who's going to be, buying a handheld, or maybe this is your first like PC handheld, first PC, like the Steam Deck kind of fills like a lot of roles, right? So having a very simplified user experience, that I really appreciate. And it's something that I think is very special to the Steam Deck, just because everything is done in-house. It's their own operating system. It's their own hardware. They can make that experience very flawless and very simple. If you don't have a Steam Deck and you'll have the opportunity to get one, and absolutely thumbs up if you're part of the Steam Deck owner crew. It's pretty fun. I love being a part of the Steam Deck community for sure. Yeah, a little update on digital detoxing. I think I'm going to make some videos talking a little bit more about that, and maybe not even just so much that. I was thinking, I saw somebody left a comment about video game addiction, and I thought that was a really interesting topic because that's something that I've had struggles with in the past, where it's like just playing too much games, it seems like. So maybe having some discussions around just how to not play as much games. I know that I haven't been posting as many videos lately, and it's because it's like we're in the summer right now. So I have been prioritizing more outdoor activity away from screens. And so that's kind of the digital detox that I have been doing lately, is just getting away from screens and from games, from my phone, just trying to get out and explore the outdoors. And like I said, I still brought my Steam Deck on a camping trip, so just all things in moderation. But let me know in the comments if that's something that you struggle with, like maybe you playing too many games, or having a hard time finding like other hobbies or things to get into. Like maybe that might be something that I pivot to in a couple of videos, just to see kind of where everyone's at there. So If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please feel free to leave a like or a comment down below. I love reading the comments and seeing how many people just love the Steam Deck, or maybe you're thinking about buying one or you just got one. I've had so much positive feedback in the comments, and you know, I really appreciate each and every one of you watching these videos all the way to the end. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.